Our next presenter, please welcome to the stage Elena Danielson, former director of the Hoover Institute Archives at Stanford.
So I hope you all can hear me. Is the sound quality okay? All right. I kind of hate getting rid of that cute turtle. But we must move on. By profession, I'm an archivist, and it's very important not to confuse an archivist with an anarchist. These are different professions. Anarchists create disorder. Archivists are there to create order. And after working as an archivist for 25 years, I took time off from active duty because it's a busy job. There's lots of paper in the world and now lots of digital documents in the world. It's a huge, overwhelming tsunami of a job. So I took off 5 years to try to figure out what an archivist really was, and I think I'm onto something. Archivists read other people's mail. That's our profession. So there you have mail, and I was so happy to hear Deborah say the advantages of paper are still real, even in the digital world. And so reading letters on paper is a snap compared to those floppy disks. I don't know if you've ever tried to go back and retrieve old technology, but it is very expensive. It can be done. It can be, you can do it. You can, retro-engineer it, but it's very complicated. So this is what I do for a living. I read other people's mail. And also, as Deborah was mentioning, sometimes there are secrets in those mail. In the mail. Sometimes you don't want the ballot, you don't want the marking on the ballot identified with the person who voted. Sometimes archivists have to keep secrets, and we have to do this tricky balance of preserving privacy, preserving state secrets, diplomatic cables, the intelligence from espionage agencies. All that has to stay private until it's ready to be open to society. So you have to balance access for and transparency for a working democracy. Without access to information, democracy doesn't work. But you also have to keep secrets. And so WikiLeaks, for instance, is in the news today. These are secret cables that were not meant for other people to read. And that's the kind of thing I used to read for a living. I had a top secret clearance, actually. Okay. And this is my favorite archival photo of Stanford. This is the Stanford I knew as a student before they got so ecologically correct and let Lake Lagunitas fill up with reeds and things. We used to go sailing between classes. It was very, very cool. And we could see Hoover Tower, and that is where there are several million pieces of paper, not to mention all kinds of old digital technology that we have to deal with. I'm just going to start with paper first because that's what I'm most comfortable with. This is one letter out of maybe 30 million in Hoover Tower. And this is a letter from a man who was once the wealthiest man in the world. And after 1917, he became the victim of a horrendous murder of himself together with his beautiful son, the Tsarevich. So this is a letter from the Tsar of Russia to his beautiful mother, whom he adored. He used to commission Fabergé eggs for her. I had to tell my kid about this. I could use a couple pieces of Fabergé myself. But he also did wonderful things for the world. He was a man, Nicholas II, the Tsar of Russia, initiated the Hague Conference, which came up with the Hague Convention for the protection of human rights in wartime. I mean, this was a good guy. He's gone down in history kind of with a shabby reputation. But when you read his personal letters that his mother smuggled out of Russia during the revolution, you read those letters, he was a fabulous person. You got to read them. They're really good. It's my dearly beloved, actually it's my hotly beloved mother. It sounds a little bit, in English it doesn't sound so great, but in Russian it sounds beautiful. And here's another top secret Russian document. This is signed by Stalin, one of the worst mass murders in history. We think Mao may have been the worst. Hitler was probably number 3, and Stalin's right there, number 2 slot, signing an arrest warrant right here. And no good came out of that. So all of those documents are in Hoover Tower, and when the time is right, we try to get them published, we try to get people to work on them, and we want to make sure people see not just historians see the documents. We want creative people to look at them. We want them to read the paper for sure, also listen to the sound. We have lots of recordings. Try listening to this reel-to-reel. You're all too young to remember reel-to-reel, but a film, it's a major, rescuing history is a big project right now. And I would love to see some high-tech people get into the rescue business with us. Now, in the archives, we have secrets. And you might think this woman doesn't have much to hide. But actually, she was a spy named Mata Hari, and her secrets are in the Hoover archives for all to read. This is another spy, the Rosenbergs. They were very controversial for years and years. Were they spies, weren't they? The latest documents say yes, they were, but maybe there'll be new documents later. Who knows? This is my favorite spy. I knew him, Boris. I just adored this guy. He was so much fun, but it turns out he did things that weren't so lovely. Another spy, we have documents on this guy in the archives. We have also things that are not unique documents but are ephemeral, so things like posters. This is a wanted poster for terrorists. There are about 100,000 posters in the Hoover archives. We haven't finished counting them, but something on that order. Now, the most beautiful and the biggest and the weightiest document in the Hoover archives happens to be a bell. The bell is in Hoover Tower, and when it rings, it's activating an inscription on the bell that says, "I only ring for peace." And so when you hear a carillon, just think there's a secret message encoded in that artifact and in the sounds that you're hearing. That's why I tried, as a working archivist, I tried to bring creative people into the archives, artists, people who see things that I miss. Because I'm a historian, I'm sort of stuck in my own little groove. I care about dates and things like that. I try to bring in artists, sound artists, visual artists, and the best of all are artists who do both the visual image and sound. And I wanted a painting of the bell, of the carillon, and asked Drew Katauka to come in, and she had to listen to the bell. She couldn't paint it without hearing it. And the bell happened to be in Europe to be tuned up, which was kind of inconvenient. So we found a recording, and she listened to the recording over and over again, looked at all the photographs, and came up with this gorgeous document. She created a new document that relates to the artifact of the bell. So now we're getting layers of interpretation, listening to the voices of the bell and what it's saying. And so I was so enchanted with the picture. We had it framed and put up in Hoover Tower underneath the actual bell itself. But when you go past that painting in the lobby of the tower, you can almost hear it ring. And that's what we do as archivists. We listen to these documents. They're kind of like messages in a bottle. These are messages from the past. They have to be rescued, especially the digital messages have to be rescued. Please, some of you techies, go to work on this. We need you. Then they have to be decoded, and the different layers of meaning have to be uncovered. And sometimes the meanings are lost to history, and it's important to rescue that kind of meaning, especially something like this. This bell has a message about peace. That should not be relevant anymore, but guess what? It really, really is. And that's why we need to have these artists, the creative people, come in, look at the documents, decode them for us, and the meaning may change. Given the context, how it applies to the current era may change from time to time. But that is our work. Our work is to hear the messages, to listen, to hear the messages from the past, and listen to what they have to say to the future. And that is a very creative process. It requires the eye of an artist and the ear of an artist as well. Thank you so much.
Well, what a wonderful transition, because now we have that artist here, Drew Katauka,